I used to think that being called valuable by your boss was a stepping stone to something better. A raise. A promotion. Recognition. At the very least, a little peace of mind that you were doing something right. But when Martin, my boss, said those exact words to me, "Jenna, you're one of our most valuable employees," I didn't feel honored. I felt wary. See, Martin was the kind of manager who weaponized compliments. He didn't praise people to lift them up, he praised them to lock them in place. To make them feel guilty for asking for more. Or worse, for saying no. I'd been with the company for just over 3 years, working as a project coordinator in a fast-paced marketing department. I wasn't flashy or loud like some of my colleagues, but I got things done. On time. Every time. I kept my head down, took the tough assignments no one else wanted, and never complained even when I probably should have. When the layoffs hit, they hit hard. We'd heard whispers, of course. Rumors about shrinking budgets, client accounts pulling out, executives looking stressed in closed-door meetings. Still, no one thought it would happen that fast. One Thursday morning, 2 desks sat empty. Lisa, our lead content writer, gone. Jordan, our client liaison, gone. Just like that. No goodbye. No warning. Just a cold, sterile email from HR thanking them for their contributions and wishing them luck in the future. The office was quiet that day. Everyone was walking on eggshells. Then Martin called me into his glass-walled office. He started with a sigh and one of those "this isn't easy for any of us" looks. I thought I was next. My heart was pounding. But instead of a pink slip, I got the speech. "Jenna," he said, folding his hands like he was delivering a sermon, "you've been one of our most valuable team members. You're reliable. Smart. Versatile. That's why we need you now more than ever." I blinked. "Okay. What do you need me to do?" He smiled. "We're asking you to take on some of Lisa's and Jordan's responsibilities, just temporarily. Until we find a replacement. You'll still manage your own campaigns, of course, but we'll also need you to cover some client calls and step in on the content calendar." I was stunned. "Wait, you want me to do 3 jobs?" No, he said with a chuckle. "Just parts of them. We're all stretching a bit. I knew you could handle it." He looked so pleased with himself, like he'd just handed me a medal. What I got instead was a slow-burning nightmare in disguise. And I hadn't even realized it yet. At first, I convinced myself it was a compliment. I repeated Martin's words in my head like some sort of twisted mantra. "You're valuable. You're smart. You're the one we trust." I told myself it was temporary. A challenge. Maybe even an opportunity. But within days, the reality set in. My to-do list exploded. I wasn't just coordinating projects anymore. I was proofreading ad copy, writing blog posts under Lisa's name, fielding last-minute emails from clients Jordan used to handle, and rescheduling meetings that kept overlapping on 3 separate calendars. I was suddenly expected to know the ins and outs of campaigns I'd barely even glanced at before. Every morning, I arrived 30 minutes earlier just to sort through the avalanche of emails that had piled up overnight. Every evening, I stayed late to clean up the messes that weren't mine to begin with. I barely had time to take lunch. My coffee turned cold before I could drink half of it. The first time I brought it up, I was hesitant, careful not to sound like I was complaining. "Hey Martin, I've been trying to stay on top of everything, but between the content deliverables and client check-ins, my core campaign work is slipping a little. Is there a plan to bring in some support soon?" He gave me that patronizing smile. The kind that says, "I'm pretending to care, but I'm already done listening." "Jenna, you're doing great. This is exactly why we chose you. Honestly, the others couldn't have handled the pressure. You're the glue, you know?" "Right," I said, forcing a smile. I just want to make sure things don't fall through the cracks. They won't, because you're on it. That's why I'm not worried. He clapped me on the shoulder like he'd just knighted me with his approval. Then he walked away before I could say another word. I stood there in the hallway, staring at my overflowing inbox, wondering when being good at my job became an excuse for everyone else to dump their responsibilities on me. There was no discussion of a raise. No bump in title. Not even a formal email outlining the scope of what I was now doing. I checked my employee portal later that night. My role was still listed as project coordinator. No mention of senior, no lead, no interim anything. It was the kind of promotion you can't put on a resume. The kind you only feel in stress, anxiety, and skipped meals. At home, my boyfriend James started to notice. I was constantly on my phone, even during dinner. I missed our Sunday morning hikes, the only real time we used to have together. I stopped reading before bed because my eyes were too tired to focus on words. "You're burning out," he told me. "They're using you." I brushed him off at first. "It's just a phase. I'll get through it." But deep down, I was starting to wonder, what if this temporary role never ends? It wasn't one big moment that broke me. It was 100 small ones. Like the 11 p.m. Slack message from a client I didn't even manage, demanding a revised social media calendar before sunrise. Or the time I got scolded in front of the entire team because I didn't respond to an email during a call with another client, both of whom weren't originally mine. Every day bled into the next, and my workload kept growing while my patience shrank. The days got longer, my mood shorter, and my fuse practically non-existent. But the tipping point came on a Tuesday morning. It was supposed to be a relatively calm day, only 3 meetings, and a few deliverables due. I was already on edge, running on 4 hours of sleep, and juggling tasks like a circus act gone wrong. I had stayed up late finalizing a quarterly campaign summary report, one that used to be Lisa's responsibility, but was now, of course, mine. I proofread it twice. Triple-checked the numbers. Sent it off with a note, "Let me know if anything needs adjusting." Apparently, there was something. I had typed May 21st instead of May 12th on one line of a 15-page document. It was a harmless typo. The client didn't even catch it. But Martin did. He waited until our weekly team meeting, where everyone was present, to bring it up. As I was walking through the campaign updates, Martin interrupted me. "Before you continue, Jenna, I just want to point out, there was a date error in the Q2 report. You wrote May 21st instead of May 12th. That's a pretty basic oversight." I froze. I could feel every pair of eyes in the room shift toward me. Martin wasn't done. "You're managing critical workflows, Jenna. Accuracy matters. We can't afford these kinds of slip-ups." I stared at him. For a second, I couldn't even speak. Then something inside me snapped. "I understand," I said, trying to stay calm. "But with respect, I'm managing 3 people's jobs right now, all on the same salary and title." A typo is hardly surprising at this point. The room went dead silent. Martin raised an eyebrow. "If you're feeling overwhelmed." "I am overwhelmed," I said, my voice steady but sharp. "I've been overwhelmed for weeks. And when I asked about support, you told me to be proud I was holding it all together. But I'm not a machine." Martin's expression shifted, less surprise, more calculation. "Well, Jenna, if you can't handle the pressure, maybe this isn't the right place for you." That was it. The moment I realized this wasn't about my value. It never was. It was about convenience. I was easy to overwork. Easy to manipulate. And I'd finally stopped making it easy. I walked out of that meeting without saying another word. That night, I updated my resume. And for the first time in months, I slept. That night, as I sat with my laptop open and my resume staring back at me like a half-forgotten version of myself, something shifted. For months, I had been surviving, barely. Now, I was planning to leave. At first, I wasn't even sure what I wanted. I hadn't looked for a job in years. I felt rusty, out of touch, and oddly guilty, as if even thinking about leaving meant I was betraying something. But then I reminded myself, loyalty without respect is just another form of control. Over the next few days, I applied to everything that remotely matched my skills. I reached out to old colleagues, updated my LinkedIn, and even attended a virtual job fair on my lunch break, camera off, mic muted, heart pounding. Every time Martin pinged me on Slack with another last-minute favor, I answered with forced politeness while mentally counting down the days until I'd never have to answer again. And then, it happened. 2 weeks after that humiliating meeting, I got an interview with a competitor, a company I had always admired but never thought I was good enough for. They were known for treating their employees well, offering flexible hours, and most importantly, respecting boundaries. The interview went better than I expected. They asked about challenges I'd handled, projects I'd led, and what kind of work environment I was looking for. For the first time in a long time, I felt like someone actually wanted to hear my voice. A week later, I got the call. They offered me the role. A senior-level title. A 25% salary increase. A signing bonus. Remote flexibility. And when I asked if I'd be replacing 3 people, the hiring manager laughed and said, "No. You'll be leading 3 people." I accepted on the spot. Resigning was awkward. When I handed Martin the letter, he looked confused, like someone who never thought their favorite doormat might walk out the door. "You're quitting," he blinked. "But why now?" "Because I've realized being called valuable doesn't mean much if you're treated like you're disposable." He gave me a tight smile. We were planning to discuss a raise in the next quarter. Maybe even a promotion. That made me laugh, actually laugh. "Martin, I've been doing 3 jobs for 3 months. You had plenty of time to reward that. You didn't. And now I'm done." On my last day, there were no balloons. No awkward cake. Not even a goodbye email from Martin. Just quiet tension in the air and a few coworkers who whispered, "Good for you," as I packed up my things. I walked out of that glass building with no regrets. No bitterness. Just relief. And a sense that, maybe for the first time in years, I wasn't surviving anymore. I was finally choosing myself. I thought leaving would be the end of the story. That once I shut the door behind me, the chaos I'd escaped would fade into the background like a distant bad dream. But sometimes, life gives you a front-row seat to the fallout. And what a view it was. 2 weeks after I started my new job, I got a LinkedIn message from Taylor, a graphic designer from my old team. "Hey, just wanted to say congrats on the new gig. Also, things here? Total disaster." I didn't respond right away, but curiosity got the better of me. We scheduled a quick catch-up call. According to Taylor, my absence had triggered a slow implosion. The content pipeline? Bottlenecked. Nobody knew where Lisa's old documents were? I had them organized, but no one had ever asked where. Client meetings? Delayed or missed entirely. Jordan had built relationships over years, and no one had thought to transition them properly. As for Martin? He tried to delegate everything to one junior associate, fresh out of college, wide-eyed, and utterly overwhelmed. Within 10 days, she quit. "They're acting like they don't know what hit them," Taylor said. "Martin even tried to say you didn't do proper handovers before leaving." That made me laugh out loud. I had written a 5-page transition document. Printed it. Emailed it. Highlighted deadlines. They just never bothered to read it. Meanwhile, my new job? It was everything I'd hoped for, and more. For the first time, I wasn't buried under work meant for multiple people. I had a team. I had a manager who checked in without micromanaging. When I asked for clarification or support, it wasn't treated as a weakness, it was treated as leadership. On my third Friday there, my manager called me into a quick Zoom. "Jenna," she said, "we've been impressed. Your onboarding is ahead of schedule, and the client feedback's already been positive." I smiled. "Thanks, honestly, it's been amazing just being allowed to focus." She grinned. "Well, it shows. And don't worry, we won't be asking you to do 3 jobs at once." That night, I poured a glass of wine, opened my journal, and wrote something I hadn't felt in a long time. I'm no longer holding it all together for people who took me for granted. And the moment I stopped being their glue, they crumbled. I don't wish bad things on Martin. Or that company. But I do hope they learned something. People aren't machines. Being called valuable is only meaningful if it comes with real respect. Real boundaries. Real support. Now, when I hear that word, I don't think of extra work or empty praise. I think of where I am thriving. Balanced. Fulfilled. I wasn't just valuable. I was essential. And they only realized it after I left.